Sicilian, my mom's Spanish, born and raised in Tampa, in a very strong Italian, Spanish kind of community. Now you would think that that would have gotten me a big league invitation. Got me nothing. So that winter, married Elaine and started thinking, look, I'm not going to make it. I've got to do something else for a living. So I played in Wichita, I hit 300 again, same thing, nothing. So I took the SAT, and I thought, look, I was raised, my mom was very education oriented. She really taught me the beauty of reading. It's been a passion for me my whole life. I had friends who were lawyers. I liked solving problems, so I took the test, and my thought was, I checked with Florida, Miami, and Florida State. Florida State admitted me and allowed me to go for 2 quarters, drop out and come back after the summer, 2 more quarters. And what that enabled me to do was pay my way through law school, because I was playing AAA last 3 years as a player coach. So my complete intention at that point was, look, I'll graduate from law school, I've had enough, and become a lawyer. I did pass the bar. I still feel taking the multi-state was the luckiest day of my life. I was flipping coins and evidently got enough rights. And that, instead of being a lawyer, because I was able to be a player coach, and my love of baseball, this managing thing hit, I was a player coach. And Elaine and I just got married, and I said, look, can I get this managing thing out of my system? I had managed for about 3 months as a trial attorney, the toughness of preparation, the competitiveness. So I felt, as the time went on, I really felt that those law school introductions to pressure, competition, detail, and preparation became right at the foundation of our philosophy.
Can you, we're here in this leadership series. I would love to know some of the best leaders you've been around. You've been around some remarkable people throughout your career. Some of the people that stand out to you as just phenomenal leaders.
Let me start with because during the winter I would always read nonfiction. And leadership, if you're the manager of a major league team, leadership is critical. It's more critical to have really good players. But we had some teams sometimes where they would say, look, just tell us what time the game starts and who we're playing, and then just get out of the way. And I like those kind of teams. What we did with leadership, I read books. I remember one, Good to Great, and he was talking about the best leaders are the ones that have their ego in their pocket, They have an ego that means that they want the assignment, the responsibility, that they can do it, but they never want to outshine their team. They want to give credit to their team at every opportunity. So I remember that leadership kind of beginning with Strickland. I always kept reading more and more. And one day, there's this amazing man that a friend that I met in Milwaukee named Dick Strong brought one of the 100 greatest generals in the history of war, including in the world, not just in the United States. His name was Hal Moore. And if you saw We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson, he was a general that he was a colonel then, but he was in Korea. He also, this was the first official battle between the Army, and they were flying in on helicopters, and the North Vietnamese regulars. They had 400 against 2,000. They won that battle. It's a famous battle. And he came to spring training, and for 8 consecutive years, he would come every year. He would talk to the troops. Yes, we called our team. And we'd go to dinner. And I have all of his 10 leadership principles that I follow right there with the gospel. I'll give you one. He said, whatever adversity you face, don't ever give up. There's always something else you can do. Never say that you've done all you can. Always something else you can do. Halfway into his friendship with us, he wrote for a magazine. He changed that to 3 strikes and you're not out. So General Moore, I actually went to West Point to speak with him. I was there a second time and listened to his brochure. He commanded troops in Colorado and Korea and in Vietnam. In the movie with Mel Gibson, he says there, we're going into Vietnam, and when we fly in on helicopters, my boots will be the first off and the last on. We will leave nobody behind. In the movie, they started getting on, and he was the last one. They said, we can't find one. They hesitated. They went back and they found it was a dead body. But how about this? In all his career, he never had one missing in action or POW. In other words, every time they went to battle, General Moore accounted for every soldier under his command. Now, that's the kind of leader that I wanted to pay attention to. I had a chance to meet Howard Schultz from Starbucks. I read his books. I was impressed with the Good to Great thing. He was very understated. There wasn't anything egotistical about him. I found at Starbucks, it was all about his commitment to the product, the people that worked for him, and the people he served. Meant a lot in sports. I was just telling Mark that I had a great pleasure tomorrow night to have dinner with Bill Belichick. He, Parcells, they spent their off season in Jupiter where the Cardinals were. So I met coaches during the winter. I would have lunch separately with John Madden and Bill Walsh. I'm not dropping names. What I'm trying to tell you is, when I'm talking to these guys, the quality of points that they were giving me, you can't imagine. And I would write them all down and include them in what I did. So last but not least, it was the baseball managers. You know, I was a lousy player with a little bit of experience, and I came into the big leagues. Sparky, Earl, Whitey, Billy, Gene Mock, Johnny Mack, they were all there. And especially in this Maryland area, the North Carolina area where the Orioles are close. I asked every one of them for help. Only 2 guys told me, he said, most of your young guys don't make it 3 years. He said, if you're still here 3 years from now, I'll share my stuff. It was Gene Mock and Earl Weaver.
You know, you've had so much success in going to different organizations. I'm curious, as you get named the manager, the head guy, and then you're dealing with pro ball players. They obviously have ego, hopefully not ego problems, but you want a player to have an ego. How do you come into a new organization and a new team and start the process of building?
Well, that's the best question that you can ask, because it is your first and most important challenge. And a lot of people think, and it's a problem, that when you walk in, you know, in coaching or managing, you're supposed to put players in positions to succeed and away from areas that they don't do well. Well, if you don't know them, you really struggle with that. But way before that, as I've learned, by the way, everything that I talk about, I was taught. I didn't innovate any of this stuff. It's all about starting from scratch and building relationships. And if there's one thing that anybody is interested to take back from my experiences, it's the value of relationships and the fact that you have to create them, develop them. There are ways to do that. There's also a reminder that it's not automatic. You can be a wonderful father, wonderful husband for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden get careless and sloppy. It gets away. So what we do with our relationships, this is how I would hire a coach. Did he have, because, by the way, when I first started as a young guy, a lot of the coaches were friends with the manager, but when I started managing, they started having Russian kids up there that didn't have a lot of experience. A coach had to have true expertise in his area. He had to have the ability to work, because you'd be surprised, and this is the answer sometimes, to why our relationship, that we had come that far, and we all, you know, literally put our hands there and said, look, we're 2 games away from, I think 90% of the roster had never had a World Series ring. So we kept it together. But here's the toughest one. 2002, the next year, tied for first with the greatest teammate we have ever had, was this amazing man named Darryl Kyle. Darryl Kyle is one of the great fathers, 3 kids, great wife, great community guy, great teammate, gave it all. He's the #1 pitcher on the staff, do anything for all of us. And how do you know the story? He pitches on Tuesday, he wins the game. We go into first place. We're in Chicago. He's going to pitch Sunday night. Saturday, he has a heart attack in his room and dies. That's a crisis. Our club was just beyond itself in sadness. That night we met as a group with the wife, his wife, and our great pitching coach Dave, who's an ex-Marine and really stoic, started talking about what it meant to work with a guy like Darryl, and he starts crying. When he starts crying, it was all over the rest of us, and it was just nothing but tears and blood. So what happened? We were supposed to play the next day, and we were supposed to be on national TV with the Cardinals. Are you going to play? And our guys decided, you know, Darryl would want us to play, so we played. 10, 11, 12 days, we've sleepwalked through it. I mean, our guys, now they're worried about their mortality. You know, what about their wife, their kids? What happens to them? That became the toughest leadership thing that we had ever experienced. How do you handle that? And once again, we relied on the fact that we love these guys. We love Darryl. Respect and trust. You know, we've got to show respect and trust. But mostly it was personal. And so what we did, we just kept binding. We would not do anything to interrupt their morning. We just played it out. We just tried to be as caring as possible. And finally, there was an article about Darryl had a problem. His dad said, his dad passed away and wrote him a note that said, son, you know, just go from here on your own. And so, long story short, we ended up pulling ourselves together. From that to this day, we still suffered Darryl's loss. It was number 57. Can't make this up. We won 57 games between there and the end of the season. Won our division. Won the playoffs again in the division. And at that point in my life, I was truly a team of destiny. I knew we were going to beat the Giants and go to the World Series. The Giants beat us in 5 games. The most unhappy, saddest I've ever been was I felt like I let everybody down because we didn't win it. So my point is what? If you care and you have that strong commitment from everybody, like, it happens most often in our personal lives. If you build that caring and respect and trust among yourselves, you just all hang in there together. I saw it when I was sick last year, and you get through it. Don't try and do it by yourself, it ain't gonna work.
That's remarkable. You've talked a lot about, you've read a lot of books, and your passion for reading. You often hear about leadership, that there's this, are leaders born or can they be taught? What is your thoughts on that?
I think that I think we all have amazing attributes. It really depends on what you want to go for. I've seen managers, in baseball, that are soft-spoken and not real gregarious, and they have a team that pulls together the right way and they make great decisions. I've seen a manager who's really funny. Loved him. I watched Lou Holtz. He's a great coach, and if you want to hear an after-dinner speaker, he's one of the funniest ever. So I think your personality will match what you decide to commit to. Probably the one that you hear most often is that if you're a crappy player, you can be a manager, and the great players are not managers. And I appreciate the first part of that because I was a crappy player. The reasoning is that to survive, you got to learn everything. You got to push. And I do think that great players, that especially who make money, they have a tendency, when they finish, they take a little break. They're not really good great coaches because they don't work. But I've seen, Don Baylor, Dusty Baker, Lou Piniella, Joe Torre. I've seen these great players. And so I learned the key is, did you love the game? Did you learn it? Do you want to keep sharing and being a part of it? So my answer is, this probably fits whatever leadership thing you have. Do you have the desire to stand in front and take charge? And if you do, then you can go for it, as long as you understand that you have a lot to learn. And it really is something that then you start getting into the details. You have to develop strategies. You have to learn, keep learning all the time. But I think the most important thing is it your passion? If it's your passion, understand that your type personality will fit the leadership role as long as it's important to you. You'll find the articulate way to describe it. You'll find the toughness that you need.
That's really great. I know you had the opportunity to meet with some of the law school students today, and as they're navigating what's next in their career and maybe trying to become a leader, can you explain some of these things that you've had some success doing in your early days that prepared you for these big leadership roles as managers?
Well, I think I heard it once about, when you lead, don't have any voids. So have strategies. And what happens, if you start out, there are situations that you don't know. So if you have a situation and you're not ready for it, afterwards, you've got to think about, because something will fill that void. It may be one of the players that's got no clue and taking the wrong direction. Maybe you're lucky and you have good players that are smart. So I think the thing I tried to pass along today was have a strategy for your life. If you want to be a lawyer, then have strategies about how you're going to succeed. In baseball, we had a strategy for adversity. It's taught by Lou Holtz. And we just suffered with the White Sox. Our three biggest second, third, and fourth hitters just hurt their legs in the last 10 days. That's adversity. You concentrate on what you have, not what you don't have. And I can remember one time we had gone through that, and everybody would, okay, let's concentrate on what you have and what you don't have. And then when it came around to the last guy, now one guy had said, well, we got you as a manager. And I went, anybody think that maybe I'm what you have and not what you don't have? And everybody, oh no, we just forgot. But anyway, how to handle mistakes, how to handle pressure. I'll give you one that's, I'm not sure. I wish I was telling more jokes so you can laugh more, but players don't make good coaches because you aren't willing to work as hard as you have to. 3, they have to buy into the relationship. It's not enough to be smart. I'm going to create the relationship for me in a minute. And last but not least, if you win, you got to celebrate. If you lose, you got to bleed. If players say that you don't care, they're not going to care. So how do we build it? Starting from scratch. Each of us on the staff has to earn each player's respect, their trust, and we have to show them we care. Not just about the baseball side, but their personal side. And then we ask every player to understand with our team that they have to make a commitment to earn their teammates' respect, trust, and care. Think about that. It's that simple. Easy to say, hard to do. How do you earn respect? Show that you've got talent. Show that you're willing to work to develop. How do you earn trust? Show up every day that your commitment is real. What you say, you stand behind. And the last one, it's really, I think, can be more important lately, is the caring part. It's really important to show that you care about them professionally and personally. When I speak to Coach Belichick knew everyone on 50-man roster, knew every wife, all the kids, and he always said what happens on the field sometimes affected off the field. I can't tell you how hard we worked at relationships. It's a tough way to lead because you do it every day. Every day you consider what's happening with your guys. Every day you're building it up. And I'll give you this PS, which I love. I use that word. If you get it going really, really well, and by the way, I've had a good, solid career win total. And I appreciate it. I appreciate organizations. I appreciate the success. By far, what I appreciate the most about the time that I managed are the family relationships on all those teams. To this day, if you're with the White Sox or with the A's or with the Cardinals, when you see each other, there are hugs, great memories, because they knew, it's just like having your family. And the caring part, it wasn't until recently, and you think about this, in the last few years, you hear this a lot. You didn't hear this before much. You actually create love. It's the kind of love you have for your family. Guys, in our cases, guys, you love. So, I could get mushy about this and get teary-eyed. Almost without exception, when I have a phone conversation or a text, not email, but the thing is going to end up with, I love you, I love you too. And that's the one thing I brought back to the White Sox in 21 when they thought I was too old and too out of touch. It's the first time I ever had said ahead of time, hey, if we do this right, we're going to create love. So I'm stressing it because it's at the foundation of where we started and how it works every day till the end of your time in existence. Respect, trust, caring, and you get that going, every dream you have can come true.
That's awesome. Can you tell us, I'm curious, success, and you're having success, there's often times adversity and crisis. How have you dealt with that over your years when things are not going the right way?
I'm going to give you one. I think, sometimes I've learned if you make points, it's better if you tell a story. So I'm going to give you one that's a little outrageous, but then I have 3 crises that we had to work through. The one that's a little outrageous is managing the Cardinals. We had an outrageous kind of left-hand reliever named Steve Klein, who was really a fun guy, and he's allowed to do anything, and very competitive, but outgoing. And so we're playing the Cubs, and it's the top of the 8th inning, and we're struggling, and I get Klein up in the bullpen. Now normally, if there's a trip to the mound, our great pitching coach, Dave Duncan, we've got 29 years, greatest pitching coach in history. Dave will go and talk strategy about how to get this next guy out. If it's something about the strategy of how we're going to avoid this guy or play the infield outfield, I'll go out. But almost always, if I come out, the guy warming up thinks he's in the game. Well, I'm going to go out to explain to the pitcher that I want you to pitch carefully to this guy. It's the old manager thing where, you know, he said, hey, don't throw the ball down the middle, don't walk him, somehow get him out. You know, just say, I don't care if, you know, if he chases, fine, if not, you'll get the next guy. But I didn't want him thinking he couldn't walk him. So I walk off the field. He gets the out. Next thing, I bring in Klein to start the inning, he gets 3 outs. Bottom of the 9th, we win the game. Everybody's excited, we beat the Cubs. I'm doing my press thing outside the clubhouse, and they asked me, what about, how do you think what Klein did? I said, well, he got 3 outs in the 9th. I'm probably winning pitcher, we win. No, the other thing. I said, what other thing? Well, when you came out in the 8th inning, he assumed you were coming in the game, and he starts to walk to the gate. When he sees you walking back, he goes, so I'm there, just want to beat the Cubs. I'm happy as I can be. I said, he did what? Gave me the finger. I said, it's the end of it. I walk in the clubhouse, it's steaming. Where's Klein? He's in the shower. So I look in my uniform, I walk in the shower, and there's Klein. Oh, did you hear? I said, I just heard, you gave me the finger? Well, let me ask you something. I went over there and I grabbed him by the neck. I said, did you really give me the finger? Tell me the truth. He said, well, I have to tell you the truth. It's on TV. Everybody's telling you. So, from then on, when I introduced Steve, I just did it in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago. Steve, the finger Klein. That was a crisis. But because he was the best we had, I didn't hold it against him. 3 crises were 9/11, what that did to our country, and they halted play. We were in Milwaukee. They stopped play for several days. As it turned out, it was something terrible for all of us. It became a terrible distraction for teams that were competing. They just couldn't put it aside some way. And what we relied on was our relationship and our commitment. And we said, look, if they resume play, we got to get, so we practiced as best we could. If you check our record from, let's see, now 11, probably 9-15, whenever they started to the end, we had a great record, got in the playoffs. And we got beat by Arizona, who was ended up winning the World Series. The other one was in 1989. I was with the A's and we were in the World Series. We were up 2. There's the earthquake. Now, what were they saying to us? Well, we should cancel the World Series, and we had a 2-game lead. And they were asking our players, media, don't you think we should, out of respect? And I said, well, let me ask you. I had a team meeting. I said, next time they ask you, ask them, are they still doing Broadway plays? Are they still playing college football, pro football? The answer was yes. So why are they going to hold it against us? And then the last one, that you have with that one, it's okay, I got to breathe and settle down. Well, the last one is when you have this thing that you're doing, you got to concentrate on how you do it. Don't get distracted by the result. Concentrate on how. So, Burton, when you saw him get that hit, they asked him, what were you thinking about? If you make an out and you lose, if you get a hit, you're still playing. What are you thinking about? He said, nothing. He was thinking about wall hit. So, the story about that in 2011, my last year there, that was the year that the Heat beat Cleveland in the NBA. The Mavericks, I'm sorry. Mavericks beat the Heat. Rick Carlisle's a coach, now he's with the Pacers. His assistant general manager, Rick Cardinal fan. So they went on strike that summer. So when we got it going, they were at all our games the last probably 6 weeks. And we had talked a lot about pressure. And he knew the 3-prong pressure. So they ended up winning the thing. So now we're in the World Series against Texas. First 2 games on home. We have an off day and Rick takes the coaching staff to dinner at the steak restaurant in Dallas. They had announced that day that the big Dirk Nowitzki was going to throw out the first pitch. If you remember that Mavericks win, he was a fourth quarter killer. He was so clutch. So he was going to throw the first pitch. So we're sitting there at dinner, and he gets a text, he says, "Oh, you're gonna like this one." One of their players had texted Dirk, "Hey, big fella, we're the champs. Don't embarrass us. Don't bounce it. Don't throw it back to the screen. Don't choke." 5 minutes later, he said, "Oh, listen to Dirk's answer. I make love to pressure, my man. That's who I am."
That's great. Let's get more specific on some of the questions that I think are of interest to a lot of folks here. Who's the best player you ever coached or played with?
There's 2 answers. Best player is Albert Pujols. Now you got to think about it with the White Sox, Carlton Fisk, Harold Baines, with the A's, Ricky Henderson, McGuire. I mean, Cardinals, it was Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowland, a great player. Albert was the most perfect human being and player because he did everything to make his team. I was just telling, I think it was Mark, I read a Bill Russell piece where Russell said the 3 most important things to him was having his teammates play better because he was around, make sure they worked hard, and the third one was understand that every competition is a new one. Well, Albert, every year, he was better than the year before, rookie of the year MVPs, and he was the hungriest, and he cared the most for our team. Plus, if you know, he very, very involved in the community. Albert P. Pujols, P stood for perfect. Now here's the other part of it. If you were, just think about what I talked about. If you made 100% commitment to our team, respect, trust, and caring, then all those guys, to me, are our best players. And a lot of those guys are around. Example is the Marlins manager, Skip Schumacher. And I would never appear to not include them in the best because they gave us the best that they had. And in baseball, you need the whole roster. So, I always respected the great players we played against. But Albert is perfect.
Who was an opponent that when they came to the plate that you worried about the most, you respect the most when they came to the plate?
Well, I have to put, Cal Ripken be one. He was he had a great comment about his longest streak. I mean, he didn't have it, one of the coaches had it. One reason he had the longest streak was the manager wrote him in because he was the best player he had. He won about the streak. But Cal had this intelligence. In fact, I always thought he should manage. I'm glad to see maybe he's part of Baltimore's ownership. Cal had this baseball-like intelligence, and he knew what he had to do all the time, whether it's making a play. But at the plate, he would change his approach based on what the team needed to win. George Brett was, he had 390 one year. Same thing, just dangerous. The most dangerous player was Ricky Henderson. Managed against for 10 years, then we had it for 5 because he could beat you in so many ways. I just look for guys that when it was their moment, even pitchers, even defenders, hitters, you could see how much they embraced the opportunity. And if they get 3 hits in 10, they're hitters, they're good. You don't succeed all the time, but I had great respect for a lot of the guys. I could make a long list.
What is your, looking back over your long, successful career, what are your proudest moments of your career? The World Series, the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I think I was proudest that I didn't take it. I believe, by the way, I think personalizing is the key to a lot of this stuff. Personalize it. Look at yourself, make sure that you respect the guy you're looking at or the lady you're looking at. But I played for the A's there on the bench. Dick Williams was a real strong mentor. And one time he was having a meeting and he was trying to explain to the guys how they had a real chance to win. If you remember, they won the division 1 year in the World Series, 2 years in a row. And he says, look, here's a guy, he's 300 AAA, and with us, he's a 7-up player. And I'm looking, and they're looking, who's that? He says, Tony. And I said, well, hey, man, What are you talking about? He says, yeah, I use them when we're 7 up or 7 down. I thought, wait a minute. That wasn't bad enough. I start managing my first game. The guy was Paul Richards, who's the farm director. And managing AA, we have this dinner in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the people in the community meet your team, introduce, we had a nice team, and he says, well, if you're all worried about with this good team, with this young manager's never managed, then let me tell you, you've heard that the saying, there's a lot of truth, that the worst players make the best manager. This young man's got a chance to be one of the best managers ever. And they laugh like you're laughing, but yeah, I was bad. I think, man, I think I was that bad, right? First game, toughest decisions you make as a manager, the bullpen decisions late. Winning by 1 run, and I think I got to change pitchers. It's 2 outs to get, now second and third. I go to the bullpen, bring in the guy, base hit, we lose. Now I'm sitting in my office. Holy smokes, man, I lost. I said, I wonder what Paul Richards thought. He walks in and he says, boy, yes sir, he says, you may have been a better player than I thought you were. So you get, those are not really insults, you know, when you really get the truth like that, you just kind of roll with the punches and think, am I going to disappear and you go become a lawyer or something? I didn't mean that.
Yeah, it's interesting just how baseball has changed over the years, and now they've got where they're trying to speed the game up, and you can see a lot of sports as more of an entertainment factor now. How do you see baseball now and sort of growing into the future and becoming successful? There's folks that say it's lost its touch with the newer generations.
Well, Major League Baseball has just gone overboard trying to connect with the newer generation. They've allowed players to celebrate home runs. In the old days, if you did that, there was a time where this one rookie had a grand slam off of Bob Gibson. And he came on he's on the on-deck circle and he couldn't find his bat. And hey man, you gotta get, well, where's my, I said, go ahead, we'll get you one. Just get up there. So finally, the guy makes the umpire say, you're next, let's go. He said, you're right, he grabbed something. And first pitch, Bob hit him right in the neck. So he says, oh, is that why I didn't have to worry about getting a bat? Yeah, that's why. So that has changed now to where you can celebrate, hey, look at me. And they think that really appeals to young people. And I think the veterans, the true baseball people, are a little offended with the disrespect for the game and the opposition. But, the way I look at it, as long as you both do it, what I don't like is you let your guy celebrate, and when our guy celebrates, then you get mad and you hit him. That's not good. But I think the most important question, the most important answer is the game has slowed down to where it became, and I love the game, but it became too boring at times. There's too much dead time. Guys taking too much time to do this, do that. There was also this, and this is probably the key thing to watch going forward. There was too much attention paid to the value of metrics. They came in 2000 and they sold ownership and front offices that they could create numbers so they make them winners. Membership, owners bought it because they affected some numbers, but what's happened for years and years and years, there's been a slight change. And I don't blame the metrics guys because they're so excited to be part of the game, but they've been doing fantasy baseball. And this is a game of men, not machines. Every day the guy may be different, and you better empower your manager and your coaches to make adjustments. So what's happened is they were deciding that you should swing for your butt, try to hit a home run. 9 guys in the lineup tried 4 times at a home run, and no matter how many times you struck out. Well, if you strike out and there's nothing in play, it's boring. It's not good baseball, and we lose fans because of the purity of the game. If you watch the way the game's played right, the way guys make defense, the way they run the bases, the way a hitter uses that bat and controls the baseball, it's a beautiful game. And they've taken some of the beauty, guy going first to third, all this stuff. they've taken it away. Recently, they made changes with the clock. They've made it easier to steal bases. So I think the biggest change we can make, this was a worry when the Metros guys came out there worried that the conventional guys were going to give them the Heisman. The opposite's been true. They've given coaches and managers the Heisman because they think they have more answers than you do. So I wish that you could use, there's good information that could be useful, but you can never forget that these are men, not machines, and you have to be able to trust your manager and coaches. The other thing that's different, the media. The media loves the negative, and you have to tell your players to be careful. You still got to be cooperative, but they can't fall for the narrative that creates a separation in the family feeling. So I really do believe that based on the new changes, that the game is moving quicker. It's going to be more, you'll see more action, more balls put in play, see great defense, you see base running. I think that's the way they're going. And then you see the nonsense that came up 2 days ago that pitchers' arms are getting hurt because of the pitch clock. You know, in the old days, Bob Gibson used to pitch a game 2 hours and 20 minutes, get and throw it. They were hurting their arms before the pitch clock. I don't know why the union started that. What hurts more than that is the guys, there's Mr. Ireland's out there can verify this. It used to be with pitch, throw it where you aim it. Now it's about rear back and just what's your velocity, what's your spin rate. No matter if you can't throw it where you aim it. Hitters now, they try to launch it and they strike out more than they hit it. That's got to change. Unfortunately, a club like Baltimore, when they went from 100 losses to 100 wins, you watch them, they're playing the game right. Philadelphia plays the game right now. Toronto plays it right. So as you play it right, more teams are going to do that, I think.
That's great. This has been awesome. I think we have some time for some Q&A.
Actually, we do not, I'm sorry to say. We wish this could go on all night long, but unfortunately you can't. I know, it's the opposite of this. So I want to say thank you on behalf of Inland Law for all of you coming in with a master class on leadership from an incredible career, which although Tony's not coaching anymore, he's still actively involved in the game, and it is a benefit for everyone. So please join me in thanking Tony Russa for being a part of this class.
If you remember him, he won almost 200 games as a starter, became a closer with the A's. Always has long hair, suntan, good-looking guy according to the women. But the unique thing about him, Boston fans will tell him, he's got this unique way of speaking. He's got different vocabulary. Money is iron. You got to listen to him, and the only way you really understand is if you're cool. So we were together from '87 after we took him to St. Louis till '97. 10 years. And I could never understand him because I wasn't cool enough. So I watched him. If he's talking and stuff, if he's smiling, I smiled. If he was serious, I was, yeah. So I bring him in a game, and he gets up a single and a double. We have 3-run lead. So what's going on, baby? I'm going to go myself. I said, heck, you okay, man? Because I'll get somebody else in. He says, man, I'm just salad today. Now, I'm wondering how many of you are cool enough to understand what he means by that. I was not, so he said it kind of serious. I'm a little concerned, but he didn't. I said, okay, look, man, why don't you just get your arm up? I think you're pulling off a little bit, a little baseball lingo. We go down, he gives another line drive. I come back out. I said, man, it's just isn't your day. He says, well, why did you leave me in? I said, what do you mean? He says, I told you I was salad. I thought to myself, I've gone this long enough where instead of being cool, I'd rather not be stupid. I said, what are you talking about, man? Come on, dude. He says, I'm just tossing it up there. I said, man, you want to hear good stuff? So, like a toss side, you just toss something rather than throwing it. I said, you got it, dude. Just pay attention, man. I'll teach you. And I said to him, huh, what do you say to a cool guy like that? And I said, did you hear today's forecast? He says, no. I said, showers. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
Time for questions. That would be fun. So I'll be around for a while. You want to ask me a question?
Woohoo!
We have a couple of these.
I'm glad that the question was asked about like the third baseman I've ever seen.
He's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah?
I just saw him because he's in the Cardinal Hall of Fame too.
I've been out there and visited. 2016 I caught a game out there in St. Louis. Great baseball city. It's one of the biggest things I can say.
Well, he was a clutch hitter. He's always a better hitter when there's men on base.
Good. Well, I appreciate you being out here tonight. And thanks for taking the question.